apologies for the delay. I got a little long-winded on the original Crock-Pot Diet broadcast. So if you didn't see that, we'll have that recording should be available in a couple of minutes. But let me pop into the questions real quick. And Janice is saying that Rosie's phosphorus has risen from 5 to 8 in the last 2 weeks, and her vet's wanting her to start on Lanthanum, but it's about $400 a month. And Janice, this is a tough one. If I am remembering correctly, you are already using aluminum hydroxide, and anyway, that's the new flavor of the day, and the vets are all on it. At least they're looking at something other than aluminum hydroxide. The other one that's out there is Sevelamer, and it used to be pretty expensive, but I think it has come down in price. So Rosie is, let me screen share this too so you can see what I'm looking at. Good, and good, I'm glad you're on. It is, here's the thing, it's still not cheap, but so this drug is available in an 800 milligram and a 400 milligram form. So it's still not cheap. So 90 tablets are about $323 of the 800 milligram size. But you could use an 800 milligram tablet and use a quarter of a tablet 3 times a day. I do not know why veterinarians are not, let me just get this popped open so I can drop you a link here. Yeah, tablet, let's just say a 300. Okay. I guess it doesn't really have a, actually I know what it is, my VPN is not on. And so it thinks I'm in Mexico, which indeed I am. Command C. So let me drop this over here, comments, but ask your vet if she's willing to do this. I don't know why more veterinarians have not picked this up. It is very effective for controlling phosphorus levels. And Janice, are you, yes, if you haven't used aluminum hydroxide, yeah, absolutely. Because you can go you can go find something called RX Phos bind. That is a much cheaper route. If you're using nothing at all, this is a great place to start. So again, it's aluminum hydroxide powder. There is a, for Pete's sake, I got too many windows open here. There we go. It's the simplest. You used to be able to get this in the drugstore as a product called Alternagel, but evidently it's just not available anymore. So, at high doses over a long period of time, there is concern for aluminum toxicity, which is why a lot of vets, the internists, are going straight to things like lanthanum. But I mean, it's dreadfully expensive. So, for $35, basically, you can get things started. You may be able to find this. Well, you can obviously find it on Amazon, but you may be able to find this in a pet store as well. So check that out. But yes, if you're using nothing at this point, start with aluminum hydroxide. Do ask your vet about Sevelamer because it is a good a good alternative, and it is not horribly expensive. Um, so check that out. See if that's helpful. Um, Ruth, good to see you. Susan, good to see you. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope things are good. And Linda is asking about what her pup has also some pretty severe kidney disease, and so she's asking about the what she can do for the anemia aside from erythropoietin or darbepoetin. And Linda, what I would do is just start with some iron. And again, I was talking earlier about um, iron products for supplementation, um, for rounding out the minerals and supplements in the crock-pot diet. So one good one would be, again, now supplements, um, iron product. Although you would want to use probably a half a capsule there, or probably even better is um, farrow food. And I would use, uh, I'm so sorry, I cannot remember how much your pup weighs, but let's say for a 20-pound dog and under, I would use a half of a capsule. And then for anybody above that, a whole capsule per day. And the goal is to make sure that there are sufficient raw materials for the red cells to make enough material, be made. So there's enough iron, there's enough other things going on there. So I would try that out. Um, let's see. Wow. Might pop back over here. Um, and you can also certainly add a little bit more liver. The problem with liver is that it will um, add a lot of vitamin A as well, which may make it better. And so the other part of her question is you can increase the kale in the red meat. Yes, you can certainly do that. But I would just add a supplement to kind of give her a big whopping dose of it. And the standard process ones are in a food-based form. And yes, theoretically, as her kidneys heal, I don't think Farrow Food is on Amazon, Janice, but it's on the shop, which is the link I put in there. So that's, we've got all the standard process products, which has been wonderful to add in. But what you can do is add the Farrow Food, get some raw materials on board, and then get the hematocrit checked about 2 weeks later, so that the body's had enough time to start utilizing them. So red cells take roughly 1 week to turn over, if you will. So after the end of a week, the majority of them start to die off, but there are new ones being made from the bone marrow and kicked out. When the kidneys start to fail, um, they do not produce enough erythropoietin, which is the hormone that stimulates the bone marrow to make more red cells. And so this is the problem. But there's also something called anemia of chronic disease. So most of the time, vets see anemia for a kidney patient. They're like, oh, the kidneys are really failing. And sometimes that's the case. But if your pet's been sick for a long time, if you've been sick for a long time, a lot of times it is anemia of chronic disease. And simply put, this means that your body has burned through so many of the raw materials, and in this case, iron, things of that nature, that it simply doesn't have enough. B12 is another really important vitamin. Many of the B vitamins are needed for production of red cells. And so it doesn't have the raw materials to make this stuff. So take that approach first, because if I'm remembering correctly, the hematocrit was down to like 25 or 26%. So at that borderline where we'd start to consider those erythropoietin injections. So see if that is helpful. And I think, yeah, and C does help improve iron absorption. Let's see. And Karen is asking, I think we have a consultation Monday, but she's asking about kidney gold support on petwellbeing.com. And I I think I've had a lot of mixed reviews on this product. I have, hey Jamie, how are you? I've had a lot of people say it is the best thing since sliced bread and it did amazing things for my pets, and other people that say, eh, not so much. So, give it a try and hope for miracles. I don't think there's anything that's going to hurt, and I hope that Siggy is one of those that truly benefits. Um, and she's also asking if Siggy's ureters could be scarred, and that's pretty unlikely. Generally, that only so again, kidneys are up here, ureters are the tubes going from the kidneys to the bladder. So there's the bladder at the bottom, and then the urethra is the tube that takes the urine out of the bladder. So it is unusual to see ureteral scarring. Um, occasionally, occasionally we will see it with things like kidney stones that have tried to pass. Rarely, rarely, this doesn't happen very often anymore. We saw ureteral blockage with what's called a blind spay and neuter procedure, where it's essentially, but this is in situations where like a large number of pets that are semi-feral have been spayed and neutered. So that's pretty unusual. More commonly, urethral obstruction can create backward pressure first into the bladder. And then when the bladder is so full it's about to pop, then we have pressure on the ureters. And so that can create some irritation. And then ultimately it creates um, or nephrosis, uh, filling with fluid in that pelvis of the kidney. And so that's where we tend to get damage to the kidneys on that from that perspective. So I hope that makes some sense. Um, Ruth, I hope my team sent you over. So you had some questions about the megamucosa in the male, and the gold dose will be a teaspoon per day, and it does have a raspberry lemonade flavor, but it's not terrifically potent. I've taken it, and yeah, and it's been it does have a little bit of a taste, but not too bad. So what I would do with that is start with literally just an eighth of a teaspoon, mix that into the food, and gradually get her accustomed to it. And then if that doesn't work, you can try adding it to some water. Sometimes they really like the taste. It's very peculiar. You wouldn't think so, but it can work that way. But start slow and work your way up. The vast majority of clients that have used it have had no problems, but you may need to start slow and build your way up, and go for a teaspoon as the final dose. And if that really you get there and everything is super, then go for a teaspoon twice a day. But do start slow and work your way up. Um, and then Karen's asking about rhubarb. Yes, that may be a good option right now because it's another, I know, it's another way to add something that will um, yeah, that will really help reduce inflammation at the level of the kidney and help slow things down. And then Ruth, if she's really freaking out about it in the water, then that's not going to work. So the other option is to take something really super delicious that she can eat without issue, like horrors upon horrors, liverwurst, and put that quarter teaspoon in the liverwurst, kind of wad it up into a little ball and hand it to her that way. So that's another option too. Usually things like liverwurst have such a strong odor that they're going to mask almost everything. So see if that helps. And again, you guys, you are my trusted customers, and so if this isn't working for you, we will happily give you a refund for supplements that just aren't working. But thank you for asking for help and support. And but if she's just not going to buy it, then we give you a refund without a problem. So give that a go. Karen, yes, I think that rhubarb's a good idea. And are we meeting on Monday? Am I correct in saying that? Um, I know you're really trying to get on this. So I'll let you kind of answer that. I think this is almost all the questions I've got. Um, I know one of them was about SDMA. It's a nice test to have in order to kind of measure inflammation at the kidney level. SDMA is a test that first of all measures inflammation, and we want to. Okay, wonderful. So I'll go through all of this in more detail. It is a nice thing to have. It is interesting that your vet's not wanting to get it done for some reason. But ultimately, does it really guide our decisions about what to do? No, that's where we use the creatinine, the BUN, and the phosphorus more because that's going to and the phosphorus in particular is going to give a better reflection on what is really going on and what we need to address. So good. I'm glad we're talking because I know it's not. Um, and the entice, um, if the appetite's a problem, yes, do use that. It's great that you've been able to titrate the dose down to what is absolutely necessary. And I've had patients on this for years without any issue. So keep doing what you need to do to keep her eating. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it for today. For those of you that missed the Ipets Ally last time, I forgot to turn on the recording when I was going through the explanation on um, the changes in the crock-pot diet. I just went through that today um, on the crock-pot diet broadcast. So for those of you that need a little more info, that's coming. We will be getting all of the recipes updated in the members area by the 15th of January. And again, I am working to find a supplement, a thing that will cover all bases, but it is really hard to do that. I don't know why. So, all of the pet supplements, generally they will cover iron and copper, but they do not contain choline or blah, blah, blah. So it's been really difficult. And Karen, that's great that the phosphorus is normal because that's what tends to make them feel cruddy. The BUN, I know, had bumped up a little bit. And so, keep doing what you're doing, get as much fluid in the meantime, and then I'll try to get you some resources for stem cell treatment because I think that really would be of help. Um, so that's what I've got for you this week. Again, we're gonna try and support. And I didn't even get the Facebook page open, so let me make sure that is not a. There's not more questions living there. So we can get our weekly Willy update. Hopefully we've got some good news. Oh, you did make it, yeah. Let's see. Let me just pop over here to. Come back on? Hopefully so. Yeah. So let's see. Yay, hair growth. Um, itching, itching, itching. As far as itching goes, I think you got a couple of options. You can use, you can do a probiotics in some water and spray them down. Sometimes that's helpful. Apple cider vinegar is in a spray, so you would do something like ACV spray would be 1 ounce. ACV to 1 pint water, or dip, if you will. So 2 ounces ACV to gallon of water, sponge on. And then this is where it gets really hard. I mean, because he's miserable enough, and you're doing quercetin, you're doing all the other stuff I can think of. You're using prednisone already, and he is still miserable. Uh, yeah, a few steps forward and a few more back. Um, you could, I think you have some of the CBD Soothe salve, but this is the problem. He's itchy everywhere. Um, You can try coconut oil. I'm not sure how successful that is, but you can also, yeah, lots of stuff. And sometimes, Jamie, it may work because it's dilute enough that it may not sting so much. Um, and the other thing we always forget about because it's so old-fashioned is oatmeal. So calamine lotion, things like that, things that are drying. So I don't know if Aveeno is still out there, but they had a uh, they had packets of stuff you could, yeah, eczema therapy. There we go. Let's see if I'm smart today. So this would be something you could consider. Essentially all it is colloidal oatmeal. And so this may be enough to kind of cool things down a bit. And they've got some other forms like, um, yeah. Yeah, so I would use something like that for whole body treatment, calamine lotion. Do you feel like the PEA is working for him? Because that's something I tried because it's the new, and there are studies showing that 1,200 milligrams a day has been significant for um, reduction of pain for people with fibromyalgia. Unfortunately, I didn't see that benefit. So, use, but yeah, calamine, use the CBD Soothe product for the worst of the lesions, and then use some of these drying agents to see if that kind of knocks the itch back. And I think Aveeno also's got some, so look for some colloidal oatmeal solutions as well and see if that's helpful. Because that's sort of old fashioned, but it does work. Um, And May's asking about kelp powder, and she found the Now one, which is perfect. I've lost my marbles because I got too many windows. There we go. So yeah, May, this is the one we're going to start carrying this on the store. And yes, absolutely, because we're not using the salt for iodine, it can indeed be sea salt or um, Redmond's real salt. So, because we've, as my mother would say, pissed in the grits, um, all sea salts are now contaminated with plastic. This is something we've been using for a lot of years in place of Himalayan salt because it seems to have more minerals in it, but you could use any of those. So check that out. Let's see, let me pop back over here, make sure I've got everything is, yep. All right, good. And I think that's it for this week. any questions I have not answered? Oh, good. Linda's got one about Lily Grace, and she's doing great. Yay! um, yeah, Linda, I talked about this a little bit earlier, and what I was saying is to use an iron supplement. Yep, because probably part of what you're dealing with here is anemia of chronic disease. And so I would treat that first with some iron and I would just go for a supplement, get it in there, recheck the hematocrit in 2 weeks. If it is stabilizing and the kidney values are stabilizing, then ride that way for a little bit. If it is not getting better and it is going lower, then that's when, yeah, that's when I would go for uh, the erythropoietin. And so we talked about farrow food from Standard Process, which we've got on the website. So that link is right here in the comments. And I would start with a half a capsule per day. I think Lily Grace is under 25 pounds, if I'm remembering correctly, but I don't trust my memory anymore. But I would start with this half of one per day, recheck the hematocrit in 2 weeks to see where things are. Um, let's see. Uh, 4 pounds. So maybe even a quarter capsule then, because we don't want to make her sick. But that will get the raw materials back up. B vitamins, B12 especially are important for forming red cells too. But go back and listen to the whole thing. All right. Any other questions you guys can think of? Like I said, we're going to be doing some fun stuff. Um, About the 8th, we'll do some sales on Standard Processes cleanse products. And I told the story about when we did that for the staff. It was a painful week, but we all got through it and felt better. And then come somewhere around the 28th, good that you've ordered a liquid B complex. Somewhere around the 28th of this month, I'm going to do a boot camp for pet parents. And if you want to do standard process stuff, great. If you don't, um, that's great too. But basically, what I want to help you do is reach your goals. And so I told the story of kind of how I started down that path in 2013 and showed my little cheat sheet that I'm working off of now. But it doesn't have to be anything fancy. But these are sorry, it's hard to get the whole spaciousness together. But these are the things that I want to do every day because when I do these on a regular basis and I have figured out how much energy I can expend every day doing them, then I feel better overall. So what if I can help you guys help yourselves, that's my goal with this. So we'll be doing a fun 4-week boot camp and hopefully that will be fun. But often, if a group of people start working on their goals together, then we have sort of, like all the coaches like to say, you have group accountability. Um, yeah, and Jamie, I hear you. Just watching day by day, and I think this is the only other options I've got for you are higher powered drugs like maybe Cytopoint would help. So I'm not sure if you would consider that or not. But at this point, if it helps and improves his quality of life and knowing that there's just not a lot of other options out there, then it's reasonable to consider. And then I'll be interested. I know that Dr. Lisa was dancing around doxycycline and niacinamide, and she was kind of thinking about that next, but that may provide some help too. Because it's weird. Doxycycline is an antibiotic, but it does have some anti inflammatory properties. And more importantly, in this situation, immune mediate modulating properties. And niacinamide seems to really help with that too. So it's such an important cofactor in so many reactions. So that's what I got for you. Happy New Year, everybody. And I'll see you next week. Until then, give everybody a big hug. Thanks.